Welcome to the Enchanting Crumbs Baking Show. This week we're making caramel swirl brownies with an extra touch of mystery.
Hi everyone and welcome to the Bite of the Week. This week we're going to make the Enchanted Caramel Swirl Brownies, one of my favorites. Alright, so we've got everything laid out. Just to go over it, we've got 2 cups of sugar and 3/4 of a cup of cocoa powder. 4 eggs, which I've already gone ahead and cracked open and swirled up. I've got melted butter. This is 1 cup of that butter. And then we've got 1 cup of flour, half cup of the caramel sauce that I made. I'll cover that in another video in a future week if Lily lets me. And then we've got a little teaspoon of salt. So, and then of course, last not least, we've got the Enigma Vine Elixir or extract. Somewhere between the two. Lily hasn't quite told me which it is, so we're going to go ahead and use it anyway because I know that that's one of the vital components to this recipe. Okay, so first off, if you haven't already melted your cup of butter, go ahead and do that. I have, so we're going to go ahead and add it to our main bowl. And then we're going to add the egg. Now, once again, I have mine already pre-cracked and whipped, but if you're going to want to go ahead and whip them anyway, just in case, just to make sure it gets all nice and combined in here. Perfect. Oh, it's a little bit runny. Right, once it's all mixed up, now we're going to start to fold in the dry ingredients. So I'm going to start with the sugar and cocoa powder mixture and just slowly ease it in there. Oh, dust into the air. Whee! Now this might seem like a lot of sugar, and that's because it is. I didn't make the recipe. I just trust Lily. She definitely knows way more than I do, but she's of course off at the baking competition this week. I think that they're doing the brownie round, but I could be wrong. The Great Brownie Bake Off, as it might be, is kind of an enigma. Right, so once we have all of this mixed up, it's going to be real gooey. And just to make it a little less gooey and a little firmer, we're going to bring in both the salt. Ooh, I just spilled some. We'll pretend that didn't happen. And then all of the flour. Now, you might want to move a little bit more slowly than that. I like to be a little more chaotic than most people probably want to be in their kitchens. We'll just put that caramel off to the side, and we'll just pretend. We'll pretend it's fine. All right, everything's in here except for the caramel and then the Enigma Elixir. So we'll go ahead and mix this up. Perfect. Now it's all stuck in here, but that's okay. We'll pretend. And we'll just put like just 1 teaspoon. Now I'm going to eyeball it, but I would highly recommend that if you're able to get some, you go ahead and measure it out. I went ahead and I know because I've made this recipe before, but it can be kind of strong. And you never want to add random amounts to anything. At least some of the magical ingredients, because they can kind of overreact. I know that the elixir will combine with the chocolate to give a really specific kind of interaction, and that's actually part of our caramel recipe as well. It just really helps to make everything feel a little more magical and a little more special and a little mysterious. Sometimes there are some recipes that we can use it in that will bring out its problem-solving qualities, but this particular one is more intended to help you have dreams and thought processes that are a little bit less normal. So a lot of times people might eat these brownies before bedtime, or they might eat them before, sitting around the bonfire and having conversations. A lot of this particular recipe looks very similar to our graham cracker recipe for our enchanted s'mores. This is going to be a lot doughier than some of the other brownies recipes you might be familiar with, so that's not a concern. It's just one of those things that kind of happens is you have to learn how to create recipes a little bit differently and trust the process when it comes to some of these magical ingredients, because in addition to some of the like magical qualities per se, they do bake differently than the same recipe might if it were quote unquote normal. All right, we'll just clean this out, make sure all the batter's in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use a cupcake tin for this particular recipe. And that's just because I think that it's cute. And it's really useful at the shop to make sure that everything's in cute little portion sizes, makes it really easy. I definitely have too much brownie batter in here to fit just in here, but we're gonna go ahead and wing it for the sake of this presentation. You could also, you know, if you're making this at home, use a regular brownie pan. There's nothing stopping you, right? Okay, perfect. So put this into the tins, and like I said again, it's gonna be a little bit more cakey or doughy at this point than maybe you optimally will want. It's not gonna be nearly as liquid, but that's okay. It's also, in addition to just having to work around it for the Enigma elixir, we also do this so that the caramel doesn't mix into the brownie quite as much. Now, like this, again, the chemistry is really specific. You'd have to ask Lily about it. But I've been working here long enough to know that her processes are absolutely perfect. I have absolutely no fear that she's not going to be the most successful contestant in the Great Brownie Bake Off this year. We've been having just enough issues with funding at the shop and just enough problems with customer retention that I think that hopefully it will bring some traffic in. If you are here in Fairyland, I think that it will be really helpful for everyone to come taste them in the shop. You can get them. They're absolutely perfect. I think that when Lily is working, she usually adds a little bit something extra to them in addition to the Enigma elixir to make them just absolutely perfect. But of course, she's at the Great Brownie Bake Off, which you should tune in to watch. And I'm the one here running this workshop. So we're gonna do it the by the book way instead of the rogue passion way. Perfect. All right, so we've got all of this in here. We can kind of smooth it out. I'm not gonna worry about it too much. So if I were perfect at this, I would go ahead and I would just take little pieces of this caramel and I would kind of swirl it in. So we'll kind of do that, but it's not gonna look nearly as pretty as it would if you came to the shop and bought some. So that's your cue. All right, perfect. And now again, we're gonna, since we have quite a bit of the batter left, we're gonna have quite a bit of the caramel left. That's perfectly normal. If you're at this stage, you can always kind of carve little images in it, or you can carve little valleys to kind of help get it to infuse deeper into the brownie itself. But for right now, we're just gonna go ahead and do it this way. And then if I want to, say, get more caramel in my brownie later, then I can drizzle it over. You can add chocolate chips, whipped cream, strawberries, and just do all kinds of stuff once you get it back. We do serve them different ways at the bakery. All right, and perfect. All right, so now we have this, and I'm gonna go stick these in the oven. I'll be right back. Just a little bit of cleanup and a little bit of time. We've got the caramel swirl brownies. You're gonna wanna put them in for about half an hour at about 350 degrees. It does vary a little bit depending on whether you're in Fairyland or in the human realm, so do keep that in mind. Now, as you can see, the swirls did not come out very swirly looking. It's more like little petals of caramel, which I think will be delicious. But again, like if you wanted to put more effort into making sure it looked perfectly swirly and getting a little bit of a thicker caramel, you can always do that. Perfect.
Want to hear more about Lily's journey in the baking competition? Tune in today.